The Prague Masters has just begun, and India number 2 and 3 both are playing there. Vidit Gujrathi and P. Harikrishna. We also have many other strong players like Shankland, Nawara, Lei Kwong Liem, Maksud Lu, Salem Saleh, Anton Guyaro. It's a very strong field of 10 players. And in the first round itself, we had Vidit versus Harikrishna in round 1. So let's have a look at that game because it was a very exciting one. Harikrishna had the white pieces and opened the game with 1d4. Vidit responded with the Nimzo Indian on the board, and this is something which the opponents have been trying a lot against him. E3, castles, bishop comes out to d3, d5, all very standard, cd, ed, and now a3. Vidit went back with his bishop to d6, queen came to c2, c6 was played, and this has been played against Vidit before. Queen c, this line, Rapport had played this and Vidit had gone a6. Aronian had played and he had gone c6 already. So Vidit has faced this on several occasions. This line with the black pieces. He went c6 here and then knight ge2, still following the game against Aronian. Rook to e8 was played. It was also played in that game. Bishop d2, and Vidit goes for b6. So all according to plan. Now Aronian had played castles here already. But Harikrishna thought for 19 minutes here. Now either he had forgotten his prep because this is a game already Vidit has played, so he would have had some ideas, or he was just thinking about his lines, but 19 minutes is a bit too much. By the way, this move has been played by Firouzja against Dominguez in May 2022 at the Superbet Classic in Romania. So this has already happened, and c5 was also Dominguez's reply. And here Harikrishna, after 3.5 minutes of thought, went for this very interesting pawn sacrifice with b4. Firouzja had actually played the move g4, and which looks more logical, and then the game had continued with c4, bishop f5, bishop takes f5, queen takes f5, g6, queen g5, and then Firouzja, I think, had managed to play some very nice tactical moves and had won that game. b4 was played by Hari, and Vidit thought for a very long time here. He thought for 43 minutes, and I think somewhere that came to haunt him at a later point because the game got really complicated, and to use half your time, so the time control is 90 minutes for 40 moves and then half an hour after that. So Vidit nearly used up half of his time for just one move, which is not the most ideal time management. But I think Vidit realized that this was a key moment in the game because there were many ways. One was to just leave the tension as it is. The other is to push the pawn to c4. And the third one is to take. Vidit said it's a free pawn. Why should I not take it? And he goes ahead. So objectively, it's the best move. Hari went knight to b5. His plan is to take here and then take the pawn on b4. So now with having taken here, you have to take the other pawn. You can't even move your bishop away because knight c7 would be a juicy fork here. So b takes a3, and now Hari, after again 2.5 minutes of thought, pushes his pawn to e4. Very, very sharp position. With it takes, pawn takes, and now this bishop cannot be moved away because knight c7 is in the position and e5 is coming up. So you might think I want to move the knight, but where? Where can the knight move? Can the knight go anywhere? Knight g8 is taken up, e8 is taken up, d7 would mean that you lose the bishop. G4 is an option and h5. So let's say if you go knight to g4, then in this position I can already start to play e5 and followed by picking up this pawn on h7. So it's not easy to move the knight, and I think Vidit had to calculate this position very well. And he came up with a very good move. I would like you to take your time and figure out what should black do here. So there are two ideas here. The move that Vidit played, bishop a6, is a good move, and the other one is bishop to g4. In both the lines, the idea is clear. Whenever you play e5, you want to sacrifice on e5. But in bishop g4 variation, there is a little bit more to be seen. For example, after e5, in comes a very nice move, which is bishop f8. If you now play knight to c7, then I would take on e2, you will take back with your bishop, and I will take on d4. So that's a problem. And if you take e takes f6, then I would play queen takes f6, and once again the position is supremely complicated. Let's say if you go knight c7, I will play knight c6, knight e8, rook e8, and black has excellent play here for a rook. In fact, black is close to winning. So bg4 was possible over here, and maybe Harikrishna might have played e5, bishop f8, but here could have gone castles or even taken and played something else like rook f1. But the move that was played in the game was equally good, bishop a6. Of course, Hari went e5, and now actually here even Harikrishna could have waited with castles, but he thought, well, this is the most natural move after giving up 2 pawns. Vidit took here, and took here, and if you see, he has 4 pawns for a piece now, which is a lot of material. And Hari now played the move bishop c3. And we reached a critical moment in this game. So here's my question to you. What should black play here? So on one hand, the first move that comes to mind is rook takes b5. But after bishop b5, bishop b5, bishop takes f6, you can't take back with the queen because of queen c8, and it's a mate. So you take back with the pawn, and after rook takes a3, it looks very scary, this position, because the rook is coming up here, and there could also be rook h3 attacking here. But knight d7 with the idea of putting your knight on f8, and it seems like around equal, this position. So this was one way to go. The other stronger way to go is bishop takes b5. And now it's very important that you take on e5. Now if you take with the bishop here, it's a blunder. Why? White to play and win. Absolutely right. Rook d1 pins the bishop and you lose the queen. So queen takes d3 is kind of forced. Playing queen c8 check does not make any sense because of knight e8, and there is a mate on e2. So you have to take the queen, bishop takes, and I think this is somewhere where Vidit might have just missed something. I think he might have thought rook d1 here, and once again it's black to play. What would you do? So if you chose bishop b5, that is a mistake, because after check, bishop e8, bishop takes b8, white is the one who's totally winning here. But the right move is knight to c6. If you take on d3, I'll take on e5. And if you play bishop f6, I have the intermediate bishop e2. And black is the one who comes out with a better position, because at the end you have 4 pawns for the exchange. So with everything analyzed, bishop takes b5 was the best option for Vidit. But he went for this move knight c6, and from this point onwards, Harikrishna simply takes over. White to play, what would you do? Very important move now. Firstly, you have to notice that taking the rook is a huge blunder because of knight to b4. attacking the queen, and the d3 bishop falls with a check. b5 would also fall, and everything just collapses. The move that I was looking for is rook d1. Kudos to you if you found this move. Fantastic move by Harikrishna. Threatening bishop takes h7 and rook d8. But Vidit could have kind of ignored that move and played rook g5. This might have been the best move here, because after bishop h7, knight h7, rook d8, it turns out that black has good compensation here for the missing material. The other option after rook g5 is to castle, queen e7, knight d4, takes, and again here white would have a small edge. He has a piece for 4 pawns here. But Vidit went queen e7, and now Hari took the rook, knight takes. So now after being a piece down, he's now a rook down, but there is pressure here, and Harikrishna found this an appropriate moment to castle. Vidit took on d3, queen d3, and here I think Vidit had to find another move. He played the move check in the game, which was not a good move. Knight g4 was possible, but it was already running low on time, and knight g4 with the idea of knight e3. Here it would not have been easy for white to continue, because let's say if I play a move like rook c1, it loses in many different ways. One is rook d8, but the other one is queen e5 with a double attack on h2 and b5. So queen e5 is a threat. So you play knight c3, I go queen c5, queen d4, knight e3, takes, rook e1, takes, and we reach this position, which is better for white, but not as much as in the game. And I think Vidit had realistic drawing chances here. But he gave this check, and now Harikrishna has the only move here, which he found, knight e4, rook d8. It seemed like everything is doing okay for black, because now the threat is bishop takes b5. You can't take with the knight because it is pinned. So you take with the queen, then rook takes d4, and you are only down an exchange, and you have so many pawns. But Hari found a good move here, and it's your time to think. Pause the video and think white to play and win. So one move which Hari played, there are two winning moves here. Rook f e1, excellent move played by Harikrishna. I'll explain to you why that's a good move. The other move is rook to f5, and it's slightly more complex, but also works. After, let's say, I move the queen, you also move your queen away, and somehow everything supports each other. The queen looks at the rook, the knight protects the knight, the queen also protects this rook. Also, because of the back rank, you can never win material, like for example a2, queen a1, bishop b5. I can play rook b5 and white is better. But rook f e1 was interesting, and the point is that after you take here, I take with the queen, you have no time to take here because back rank mate is the problem. Queen f8, take, and rook d4. Here it's still, you have to be slightly accurate after b5, but I think Hari would have managed it. Check, king e7, rook b8, a6, rook b6, king d7, takes. Now a3 is hanging, and rook a4, and all the pawns are cleaned up. Okay, so a2 was played by Vidit, and now your final question here, if you make the next move, you will win this game. White to play. It's an important moment in the game because Vidit wants to deflect one of the rooks by making a queen and then winning this one of the pieces. Played queen to c3. Excellent move here, and I think the only winning move. The main part is to move the queen away from here, and also, I mean, you can play queen a3 also, but after take, take queen, rook takes, rook d4, the knight is in the way of attacking the bishop. Whereas in the game, if you were to take queen, rook takes, and this would hang in the end on a6. So that's the very nice point there. Vidit played h6, which was a nice waiting move, but Harikrishna now cleaned it up quite well. First, he took on c5, then he played knight c7, attacking the bishop. Well, if you take cd4, knight a6, and d3, then the rooks can just switch over rook a1, d2, rook d1, knight e4, rook takes a2, and white will sooner or later convert this position. So bishop c4 was played, knight to c6, rook d1, and this is winning for white. He's a rook up. Although black has 4 pawns, they are not together, they are not advanced so much. I mean, this lone pawn cannot create much damage, and Harikrishna managed to win this quite well. King brought up, knight comes back, the other knight moves in, and here Vidit resigned on move number 38. They couldn't reach move 40. I think the key moment of this game came at this very moment where Vidit had to play bishop b5, but instead he went for knight c6, and after that Harikrishna gave him no real opportunities. It was a big fight between two of India's best players, and Harikrishna triumphed on this occasion. Just showing you some pictures from the venue. This is both of them sitting against each other and fighting it out. This is the playing hall. You have all the categories here. I think there are A, B, and C category, all of them playing at the same venue. And also Shashi Kiran is playing in the challenges section. He started off with a draw. And these are the standings. You have Navara, Le Kwong Liam, and Harikrishna on 1 point. Vallejo, Maksudlu, Nguyen Thai Daiwan, and Salem on half. And Vidit, Shankland, and Anton Goyaro on 0. The next round will happen today, and I'll bring you all the action. Until then, guys, take care. Bye bye.